To hear this audiobook in full, please visit the links in the description below. Thank you for your support. Japan's Biological Warfare in China by Yanjun. About the author. Yanjun was born in China's northeastern Heilongjiang province in 1979. He graduated from the history department of Heilongjiang University and now serves as a research associate and vice director at the Unit 731 International Research Center of the Harbin Academy of Social Sciences. His awards include Outstanding Young Expert of Harbin and Model Worker of Harbin. Preface. After the September 18th incident, the Japanese Army gradually seized the whole of northeast China. In 1933, Japan broke the Geneva Convention and secretly set up Unit 731 in Harbin. In 1938, Unit 731 moved to the Pingfang Special Military Region of Harbin. It had several substantial divisions, including germ research, germ experimentation, epidemic prevention and water purification, germ production, general affairs, training of personnel, equipment, and medical treatment. Later, several branches were established in Hailar, Mudanjiang, Linkou, Sunwu, Dalian, and Tokyo. In total, the unit had a staff of more than 4,500. It became a military base for the research, experimentation into, and production of biological weapons, and the headquarters for Japan's planning, organizing, and implementing of bacterial warfare. In secret, in contravention of international law, and in an offense against humanity, Unit 731 conducted experimentation on a massive scale on humans, animals, and plants, and research into use of gas for military purposes. It infected large numbers of Chinese, Soviet, and Korean victims with dreadful bacterial infections, and inflicted techniques such as frostbite and vivisection on them. As a result, in an absolute violation of bioethics, medical rules, and professional ethics, the unit developed at least 50 germ agents, including plague caused by the bacteria Yersinia pestis, cholera, anthrax, and glanders. It dragged humanity and civilization over the edge of an ethical abyss. During World War II, with Unit 731 as the main source, the Japanese inflicted mass biological warfare on the Chinese in Heilongjiang, Jilin, Inner Mongolia, Shandong, Jiangxi, Zhejiang, and Hunan provinces, causing outbreaks of plague, cholera, typhoid, and other highly infectious diseases, leaving the ground scattered with corpses and shriveling every living creature. The campaign caused huge casualties, colossal economic damage, and terrible psychological suffering. The unthinkable consequences posed a severe threat both to the environment and to human survival in the areas affected. In 1945, Japan surrendered. The majority of Unit 731 members fled back to Japan. The U.S. granted immunity to the staff of Unit 731 in exchange for data gathered from their research into human experimentation and biological warfare. As a result, most of them evaded prosecution under the trials of the International Military Tribunal of the Far East. Only a very small number of the unit's members were captured by the Red Army of the Soviet Union, where separate trials of 12 Japanese war criminals were held in Khabarovsk. Those who should have been subject to trial and punishment quickly went on to serve in public posts in Japanese government agencies, military departments, medical institutions, and universities. They even established veterans groups, such as the Pingfang Comrade in Arms Association, Dongxiang Comrade in Arms Association, Pingfang Triangle Association, Kamo Association, Gucheng Town Association, and Suzerain Association, through which they held various commemorative activities and remained active in different fields in Japan. Most of the members remained silent about their wartime crimes and refused to be interviewed by the media. Throughout their lives, they also refused to reflect publicly upon their past. But a few members revealed the historical truth. The former locations of Unit 731 are sites of national cultural heritage under primary protection. They witnessed dreadful human suffering and carry with them special memories of the brutal war. Protecting the sites so that they preserve a record of their history should be the common responsibility of all those who aspire to world peace. Compiling this memoir will reveal Unit 731's crimes against humanity and its responsibility for inhumane warfare and medical atrocities, maintaining an essential historical record for posterity and for future reference. Key events. June 17, 1925. The Geneva Protocol, Protocol for the Prohibition of the Use in War of Asphyxiating, Poisonous, or Other Gases, and of Bacteriological Methods of Warfare, was signed in Geneva. June 1927. Shiro Ishii obtained his doctor's degree in microbiology from Kyoto Imperial University. April 1928 through April 1930. Shiro Ishii went to Europe and the U.S. to gather information about biological warfare. 1932. Shiro Ishii was promoted to major, July 5, 1932. Japanese Ministry of War gave approval to the Army Medical School to establish a germ lab, where Shiro Ishii led a team to carry out studies on germ weapons. December 8, 1932. The Ministry of War allocated 2,008,989 Japanese yen for expanding the Epidemic Prevention Lab of the Army Medical School. April 1933. Kwantung Army Warhorse Disease. Prevention Shop set up a germ lab, marking the start of Unit 100's preparations for biological warfare. August 1933. The Epidemic Prevention Lab of the Japanese Army Medical School was secretly moved to Xuanhua Street, Harbin, with a germ test field affiliated to it being established around Beiyinhe Town in today's Wuchang City. It was called Kamo Unit or Ishii Unit, the predecessor of Unit 731, September 23, 1934. There was a prison break from the Beiyinhe germ test, organized by the anti-Japanese Amalgamated Army of the Northeast, which brought to light the secret human experimentation carried out there. August 1, 1935. Shiro Ishii was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel. 1936. Kamo Unit selected a site and performed surveys in the Pingfang area of Harbin to make preparations for building a large-scale base of biological warfare. June 25, 1936. The Epidemic Prevention Department of the Kwantung Army was officially established, and the date was regarded by Unit 731 as the date of its founding. 1937. Kamo Unit began research in and development of offensive germ weapons. June 30, 1938. The headquarters of Kwantung Army issued Order No. 1539 on the establishment of a special military zone around Pingfang, which covered an area of 120 square kilometers and consisted of Pingfang Town, the camp areas of Unit 8372 and Unit 731, and the surrounding areas. The local residents were either forced to move out or banned to go in and out of the military zone. 1939. The building of infrastructure and experimental facilities of the biological warfare base in the Pingfang Military Special Zone was completed, and Unit Kamo moved into the military special areas, although its former site was turned to and still used by its Department No. 3. Unit 731 began to study and produce in a large scale G50 germ bombs and conducted numerous field tests. April 18, 1939. Unit 1644 was established in Nanjing. Unit 8604 was established in Guangzhou. July 7, 1939. The Kwantung Army Headquarters issued No. 78 Combat Order, ordering Unit 731 to carry its equipment to the area of Hailar and Yanjun Temple to join the Nomonhan battle. In the battle, Unit 731 deployed biological weapons for the first time, using bacteria for cholera, typhoid, and dysentery to contaminate the water sources. March 23, 1940. Unit 1855, also known Beijing A, or North China Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department, was set up. April 29, 1940. Unit Kamo Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department and the Military Medical Section of Division 14 compiled the Scheme of Work Order of Epidemic Prevention and Water Prevention for various units, working out provisions on the general procedures, responsibilities, and tasks of the Epidemic Prevention and Water Prevention Department. June through November 1940. Unit 731 was involved in plague prevention and field experiments around Changchun and Nong'an. July 25, 1940. Kwantung Army Headquarters issued No. 659 Combat Order, asking field railway officers of the Kwantung Army to transport Unit 731 equipment by rail in preparation for biological warfare. July 26, 1940. Field Railway Command of the Kwantung Army issued No. 178 Combat Order, asking the commanders of its subordinate troops in Harbin, Shenyang, and Jinju to transport equipment for Unit 731. August 1, 1940. Kwantung Army Epidemic Prevention Department was renamed Kwantung Army Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department. October 4, 1940. The Japanese troops launched a biological attack on Kuzhou, Zhejiang Province, using airdrops of infected fleas, wheat, beans, cloths, and cotton, causing a large-scale outbreak of plague in Kuzhou. October 22, 1940. The Japanese troops launched a biological attack on Ningbo, Zhejiang Province, using airdrops of infected fleas, wheat, and flour, causing a large-scale outbreak of plague in Ningbo. October 27th and 28th, 1940. The Japanese troops carried out a biological attack on Jinhua, Zhejiang Province, causing an outbreak of plague in Jinhua and Yiwu. December 2nd, 1940. Yoshijiro Umezu signed an order giving approval to the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department of Kwantung Army to set up branches in Hailar, Sunwu, Linku, and Mudanjiang. 1941. Unit Kamo changed its code to Manchuria Unit 731. Unit Wakamatsu became Manchuria Unit 100. The Mudanjiang branch became Manchuria Unit 643. The Linku branch, Manchuria Unit 162. The Sunwu branch, Manchuria Unit 673. And the Hailar branch, Manchuria Unit 543. March 1941. Shiro Ishii was promoted to Major General Surgeon. July 1941. The Kwantung Army conducted exercises and gathered 700,000 soldiers in Manchuria. November 4th, 1941. The Japanese troops launched a biological attack against Changde, Hunan Province, by dropping 36 kilograms of infected fleas, cloth, silk, beans, wheat, rice, and cotton, causing a large-scale plague in Changde. May 5, 1942. Unit 9420 was established in Singapore, June through August 1942. The Japanese troops airdropped plague, dysentery, and cholera bacteria on Jinhua and Langsi in Zhejiang Province, killing many civilians. August 1, 1942. Shiro Ishii was transferred to the post of Surgeon General of the No. 1 Army of the Japanese Northern China Area Army, while Masaji Kitano succeeded him as the head of Unit 731. August 1942. The Japanese troops carried out biological attacks on Yushan in Jiangxi Province by spraying plague, cholera, and paratyphoid bacteria into wells and rivers and onto crop fields, leading to massive deaths of local villagers. February 1943. The Baitapu incident occurred, and Fengtian military police transferred Zhao Zongbo, Shi Shunchen, and Kui Bingzhong to Unit 731. February 15, 1943. The Kwantung Army Headquarters issued No. 98 Combat Order, dispatching Unit 731 to conduct epidemic prevention on English and American prisoners of war in the Shenyang Prisoners of War Post. March 12, 1943. The Military Police Command of the Kwantung Army issued No. 120 Order titled Note on Special Transfer, specifying the standards for the so-called Special Transfer. October 1943. The Heishijiao incident in Dalian took place when Dalian military police turned over Wang Yaoxuan, Wang Xuanian, Li Zhongshan, and Shen Delong to Unit 731 by following the order of special transfer. January 1, 1945. Unit 731 worked out a roster of those in the Kwantung Army Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department to stay behind. March 1, 1945. Shiro Ishii reassumed its post as head of Unit 731 and was promoted to Lieutenant General. Masaji was transferred to the post of Surgeon General of No. 13, Japanese Expeditionary Army, Shanghai. August 9 through 14, 1945. Unit 731 destroyed evidence of biological warfare and human experimentation and blew up major buildings and facilities of the headquarters and branches before fleeing. August 15, 1945. Japan announced unconditional surrender. September 9, 1945. Japanese representatives signed the formal surrender to the Chinese government in Nanjing. September to October 1945. The U.S. sent Lieutenant Colonel Murray Sanders from Fort Detrick to investigate the Japanese biological war. He completed his Report on Scientific Intelligence Survey in Japan. February 1946. The U.S. sent Lieutenant Colonel Arvo Thompson from Fort Detrick to interview such core members of Unit 731 as Shiro Ishii, Masaji Kitano, and Ryoichi Naito, before completing his report on Japanese biological warfare. December 25 to 29, 1949. The Soviet Union set up a military court in Khabarovsk to hold public trials of 12 Japanese war criminals who had been involved in biological warfare. The records of the trials were compiled into a book titled Materials on for Trials of Former Servicemen of Japanese Army, charged with manufacturing and employing bacteriological weapons. The book was later translated into Chinese, English, German, Japanese, and Korean. June to July 1956. The Special Military Tribunal of China's Supreme People's Court heard the cases of 45 Japanese war criminals publicly in Shenyang and Taiyuan, including Rong Hideo Sakakibara, head of Linku branch of Unit 731. October 9, 1956. Shiro Ishii died of illness in Tokyo. November 15, 1957. Kaneda Yasushi and some others from Unit 731 founded an association of comrades in arms known in Chinese as Fangyu Hui, publishing its own magazine. 1958. Unit 731 members established Seishin Tawa in Tama Cemetery of Tokyo and the Seishin Association for Unit 731 Comrades in Arms. July 19 to October 3, 1981. Japanese writer Seiichi Morimura wrote Devil's Gluttony, which was serialized in the Akahata. October 1981. American journalist John William Powell published the article A Hidden History in the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, revealing the clandestine deal between Japan and the U.S. in relation to the historical fact of Unit 731. November 1981. Seiichi Morimura's Devil's Gluttony was published. It was translated into Chinese, English, and Russian, revealing information about Unit 731's research into biological weapons and the historical fact of human experimentation the unit had conducted, causing strong repercussions in the international community. December 1st, 1982. The Harbin Pingfang Cultural Relics Administrative Office was established, marking the start of full protection of the ruins of Unit 731. 1983. The ruins of Unit 731 was made a cultural relic under provincial protection of Heilongjiang. 1984. The Japanese Ministry of Education deleted all references to Unit 731 in Japan's textbooks. August 13, 1985. ITV broadcast the documentary Unit 731. Did the Emperor Know? August 15, 1985. The exhibition hall of criminal evidence of Unit 731 was officially open to the public. 1988. The movie Men Behind the Sun was released, July 1989. Human bones were discovered in the heritage site of the Japanese Army Medical School. In September the same year, the Research Institute of Human Bones of the Army Medical School was established. September 1989. National Archives compiled the document Selected Materials of the Japanese Imperialists Invading China, Biological and Gas Warfare. December 1993. Yoshiaki Yoshimi published Imotonishi on Asahi Shimbun. February 1995. The Japanese civil society arranged a mission for the investigation of chemical weapons left behind by Japanese troops. July 31, 1995. Heilongjiang Provincial Academy of Social Sciences and Japan-China Friendship Association held a seminar on Fighting Invasion and Safeguarding Peace. The Unit 731 exhibition began to tour Japan. August 15, 1995. A new structure was completed for the exhibition hall of Unit 731's criminal evidence. The hall was opened to the public after necessary reinstallation. December 1995. In China, the victims of Japanese biological warfare got organized spontaneously to sue the Japanese government. Members of Japanese Federation of Bar Associations, Tsuchiya Kobo, Ichinosuke Ichiro, and others went to Zhejiang and Hunan to investigate and collect evidence to assist the Chinese victims in their lawsuits against the Japanese government. October 1997. Jin Chungmin discovered the archives on the so-called special transfer for the first time in Heilongjiang archives. August 2, 1999. The Heilongjiang Provincial People's Government held a press conference to publish the archives on the special transfer. December 1999. The Japanese civil society established the Society of Research into Unit 731 ruins to get listed as World Heritage. The Unit 731 exhibition and the Poison Gas exhibition were combined and renamed a BC Committee, with A referring to atomic, B to biological, and C to chemical. July 2000. Harbin Academy of Social Sciences and Harbin TV completed a tour to Japan to collect evidence, interviewing more than 20 members of Unit 731. April 28, 2001. Harbin Academy of Social Sciences established a research institute on Unit 731 in charge of research and exchanges in relation to Unit 731. September 6, 2001. The Jilin Archives held a press conference to publicize newly found archives on the special transfer. September 18, 2001. Hunan University of Arts and Sciences established the Institute of Biological Warfare Crimes. October to November 2001. The steering group of Unit 731 Heritage Site, Protection and Development, and Harbin Daily Together organized a second cross-border evidence-gathering trip to Japan. August 27, 2002. The local court of Tokyo made the first instance judgment, recognizing the historical fact that the Japanese troops had waged biological warfare to kill Chinese people, but refusing the Chinese victims' request for compensation. December 7th to 9th, 2002. Hunan University of Arts and Sciences held the International Academic Seminar on Crimes of Biological Warfare, September 3, 2005. Harbin Academy of Social Sciences organized the first international academic seminar on Japanese biological and gas warfare in Harbin, 2006. The ruins of Unit 731 was listed as a national key cultural relic under state protection, October 18, 2006. Harbin Academy of Social Sciences, the R.O.K. Staley's Garden, and Chungcheong University jointly held the second international seminar on Unit 731's crimes in Cheongju, Arok, November 18 to 19, 2006. The Hunan University of Arts and Sciences and the Global Alliance for Preserving the History of World War I jointly organized the International Academic Seminar on Japanese Biological War Crimes in Changde, Hunan, September 4 to 5, 2007. The Harbin Academy of Social Sciences and the Mongolian University of National Defense jointly organized the International Seminar, Historical Lessons and the Modern Era, Chemical and Biological Weapons Experimentation During World War II in Ulaanbaatar, July 2008. Heilongjiang TV filmed a documentary about Unit 731, entitled The Immortal Memory, which was aired by Heilongjiang TV, September 18, 2008. Harbin Academy of Social Sciences and the Exhibition Hall of Unit 731 jointly sponsored the Fourth International Academic Seminar on the Crimes of Unit 731 in Harbin. 2010. Japanese Biological Warfare, Episodes 1 through 8, a documentary filmed by Heilongjiang TV, was broadcast on CCTV. 2012. The ruins of Unit 731 were included in the tentative list of World Cultural Heritage of China. February 27, 2014. The 7th session of the Standing Committee of the 12th NPC decided to make September 3rd the anniversary of the victory of Chinese people's fight against Japanese aggressors, and December 13th, the National Memorial Day of the Nanking Massacre. August 15, 2015. The Exhibition Hall of Criminal Evidence against Japanese Army Unit 731 opened to the public. Chapter 1. Shiro Ishii and Unit 731. On June 17, 1925, 37 countries, including Japan, the U.S., and Germany, signed the Protocol for the Prohibition of the Use in War of Asphyxiating, Poisonous, or Other Gases, and of Bacteriological Methods of Warfare, also known as the Geneva Protocol. It stated,
"Whereas the use in war of asphyxiating, poisonous, or other gases, and of all analogous liquids, materials, or devices, has been justly condemned by the general opinion of the civilized world, and whereas the prohibition of such use has been declared in treaties to which the majority of powers of the world are parties, and to the end that this prohibition shall be universally accepted as a part of international law, binding alike the conscience and the practice of nations, declare that the high contracting parties, so far as they are not already parties to treaties prohibiting such use, accept this prohibition, agree to extend this prohibition to the use of bacteriological methods of warfare, and agree to be bound as between themselves according to the terms of this declaration."
On April 10, 1972, the Convention on the Prohibition of the Development, Production, and Stockpiling of Bacteriological, Biological, and Toxin Weapons, and on their destruction was opened for signature by London, Moscow, and Washington. It stated,
"Recognizing the important significance of the Protocol for the Prohibition of the Use in War of Asphyxiating, Poisonous, or Other Gases, and of Bacteriological Methods of Warfare, signed at Geneva on June 17, 1925, and conscious also of the contribution which the said protocol has already made and continues to make to mitigating the horrors of war."
Japan would go on to violate this international treaty by secretly preparing for and carrying out bacteriological warfare. Although the Japanese government signed the Geneva Protocol in 1925, the Japanese army violated international treaties and used chemical and biological weapons on many occasions during war. According to the paper, 1,800 specific examples of Japanese chemical war in China by G. Schwerin, a researcher in the Anti-Chemical Command and Engineering Institute of the People's Liberation Army. From 1928 to 1945, the Japanese Army used chemical weapons on 1,919 occasions in 20 provinces, including Heilongjiang, Jilin, Hebei, Shandong, Hunan, and Henan. They also resorted to biological weapons on the battlefield. Published data suggest that the Japanese invaders engaged in mass bacteriological warfare in Hulunbuir of Inner Mongolia, Western Shandong, Changde of Hunan, Shangrao, and Guangfeng of Jiangxi, Yiwu, Kuzhou, Jinhua, and Ningbo in Zhejiang, inflicting huge casualties on innocent civilians, including women and children. On February 6, 1946, Lieutenant Colonel Arvo T. Thompson of Fort Detrick, a U.S. Army military command installation, questioned Shiro Ishii, first commander of Unit 731, and Masaji Kitano, second commander of Unit 731. The former acknowledged the unit's research into bacteriological war and weapons, but refused to discuss financial sources, official approval, and cooperation from other institutions. The latter was much more forthcoming in his assistance to Thompson's investigation. Below is part of the dialogue between Masaji Kitano and Thompson. BW means bioweapons.
Question: What BW work was conducted at institutions other than at Haibo? Answer: Because of the secret nature of BW, no work was done at other institutions. Question: It is inconceivable that BW research was limited to a single institution. Haibo, when other research in Japan, equally as classified, was conducted at many institutions. Answer: BW is a restricted subject, prohibited by the Geneva Convention, and thus was not an authorized activity. Question: Who authorized initiation of BW research? Answer: Ishii.
Kitano confirmed the fact of bacteriological research in violation of international treaties which banned such research, including the Geneva Protocol that prohibited it outright. He made similar remarks during the U.S. Army investigations. According to his post-war statement to the U.S. Army,
I believe that bacteriological weapons are against medical science. As a humanitarian issue, it was brought up frequently by the League of Nations and the international disarmament conferences. Suppose we win the war, it would be unnecessary to use those weapons which go against humanitarianism and international principles. If we lose, the usage of the biological weapons would only let us go down in history. Biological warfare is off the track in medical science. It violates international humanitarianism and should be abandoned.
it is obvious that Kitano, the commander, was fully aware that the research and use of biological weapons by Unit 731 was a violation of humanitarian and international principles and would only let them go down in history as a byword for infamy. However, when he was in service from August 1942 to March 1945, Unit 731 was at a critical stage in its production and development of bacteriological weapons on a large scale. The most formidable was the human experimentation involving captives and civilians. Kitano's confession was in stark contrast to his actual deeds. Shiro Ishii, responsible for the bacteriological war. February 5, 1932, was an unforgettable day for the people of Harbin. It was a day of misery and atrocities. On that day, Harbin, a transportation hub of Northeast Asia and a capital city where Eastern and Western cultures converged and millions of people lived, was occupied by Japanese invaders. It was reduced to a colony, a status it would retain until 1945 when Japan surrendered. It was also in 1932 that a germ lab was set up in the Tokyo Army Medical School, with Shiro Ishii as the person in charge. Who was Shiro Ishii? Ishii was born in the former Shibayama village of Sanbu District in Chiba Prefecture. Shibayama belonged to Kamo, the reason why Unit 731 was also called Unit Kamo. He was born to a landlord family as the fourth son and died on October 9, 1959 at the age of 67. His eldest brother, Pyosu Ishii, died in battle during the Russo-Japanese War, 1904 to 1905. The second brother, Tada Otoko Ishii, was a farmer in the village. He later became a body burner for Unit 731 along the Beiyin River under the pseudonym of Tada Otoko Hosoya, before becoming monitor of the special group assigned to manage the special prison. He died at the age of 57 on July 4, 1956. Shiro's third brother, Mitsuo Ishii, graduated from the University of Veterinary Medicine in Japan. In 1939, he joined Unit 731 as a veterinary technician and stayed as the monitor of the Ishii group of the Equipment Division, in charge of the feeding chamber for experimental animals. He died on January 2, 1958, at the age of 63. The three brothers were core members who had access to all the secrets of Unit 731. Shiro Ishii made use of blood ties, relations by marriage, fellow villagers, classmates, and students to establish and expand Unit 731 in an effort to maintain secrecy and ensure combat capacity. This method of recruitment was closely related to the unit's military, confidential, and special nature, and existed throughout the establishment and extension period of the unit. On June 25, 1943, the senior officials of Unit 731 were photographed before the headquarters building. The photo carries a note that it was taken on the 8th anniversary of Unit 731 on June 25th, the 18th year of Showa period. The 124th Emperor of Japan, better known by his personal name Hirohito, is now referred to primarily by his posthumous name Emperor Showa in Japan. June 25th was also Shiro Ishii's date of birth. We can conclude that Unit 731 was founded on June 25, 1936. Akira Ogasawara, a teenage member of the insect experiment group of Unit 731, confessed in the report on the Tochigi exhibition of Unit 731 that June 25 was the anniversary of Unit 731. This was the most direct and definite evidence provided by a member of Unit 731 about the timing of its founding. So Shiro Ishii's birthday was the day Unit 731 was set up. He was 44 years old in 1936, and his title was Army Medical Lieutenant Colonel. Shiro Ishii graduated from Chiba Secondary School and then was admitted to the 4th Institution of Higher Learning in Kanazawa, now Kanazawa University, and Mito University. From 1916 to 1920, he studied medicine at the Kyoto Imperial University, beginning his career in medicine and laying the foundation for the establishment of Unit 731. From January 20th to April 9th, 1921, he was commissioned as lieutenant and army surgeon to the 3rd Infantry Regiment of the Japanese Imperial Guard. On August 1st, 1922, he was assigned to the 1st Army Hospital. On August 20th, 1924, he was promoted to surgeon captain. From April 1924 to April 1926, Ishii returned to Kyoto Imperial University to study bacteriology, serology, preventive medicine, and pathology, and gained his master's degree. During these years on campus, he achieved good academic results and was highly thought of by Araki Torasaburo, president of Kyoto Imperial University. This paved his way to marrying the president's daughter. From 1926 to 1928, he was transferred to Kyoto Garrison Hospital. In June 1927, he won his doctor's degree in biology with his paper Research on Gram-Positive Twin Bacteria. Professor Kimura Ren was his tutor. From April 1928 to April 1930, Ishii went abroad for a tour of inspection and study visiting Egypt, Greece, Turkey, Italy, France, Switzerland, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Belgium, the Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Poland, the Soviet Union, the US, and Canada. He was particularly interested in two historical plagues. One was the plague of Justinian between 520 and 565, spreading to almost all known countries at the time and causing about 100 million deaths. The other was the Black Death that broke out from 1346 to 1665. The plague swept across Europe, Asia, and the northern shores of Africa. Europe was hardest hit. It was estimated that the population in Europe was about 100 million, a quarter of whom died from the plague. In Italy and the UK, around half the population died. Ishii thought that if a plague could be used as a weapon, it would have massive killing power. Therefore, Unit 731 always regarded the plague as the most essential biological agent during its research into biological weapons. It was seen as a weapon capable of wiping out mankind. In 1930, Shiro Ishii acted as an instructor to the Army Medical School, a position which he held throughout his life. In 1932, he invented a water purifier, for which he applied for patent protection, which later became known as the Ishii purifier, and was widely adopted in the Japanese Army to protect against plague and supply water for military purposes. In 1932, Ishii was promoted to Surgeon Major. On August 1, 1935, he was promoted to Surgeon Lieutenant Colonel. On March 1, 1938, he was Surgeon Colonel. On March 1, 1939, he was Surgeon General. 1941, he was Surgeon Major General. On August 1, 1942, Ishii was dispatched to be chief of the medical section of the Japanese First Army. Masaji Kitano, once named Masakura Kitano, was second in command of Unit 731 and another who was responsible for Japan's bacteriological war program. He was born on July 14, 1894, and graduated from School of Medicine of Tokyo Imperial University with a medical doctor degree. In June 1936, he was a professor of Manchu School of Medicine, teaching bacteriology. From August 1, 1941 to March 1, 1945, he succeeded Shiro Ishii as the commander of Unit 731. On April 30, 1945, Kitano was promoted to Surgeon Lieutenant General and appointed commander of Japan's 13th Army Medical Corps in China. He was captured in August 1945 and repatriated to Japan in January 1946. On February 6th, he cooperated with the U.S. investigation. On April 1st, 1947, he submitted a 17-page written statement about the Ishii unit. In 1950, he acted as head of the Tokyo plant of Green Cross Corporation. In October 1959, Kitano was the chief funeral commissioner of Shiro Ishii. He died in 1986. On March 1, 1945, Ishii returned to Unit 731 and was promoted to Surgeon Lieutenant General, but he fled back to Japan on August 12th and transferred to the Reserve Forces on December 1st. In 1946, he was interviewed by U.S. investigators including Arvo Thompson, Norbert Fell, and Edwin Hill, providing a substantial volume of documents about bacteriological warfare and human experimentation. Under the protection of the U.S., he was granted immunity from prosecution as a war criminal. The establishment and demise of Unit 731. Around the time of the September 18th incident, Shiro Ishii was in Europe studying bacteriological warfare. He returned to Japan where he championed the idea and lobbied for support from the upper levels of the Japanese army, winning the support of the Ministry of War and some officials of the Imperial Japanese Army General Staff Office. On July 5, 1932, the Ministry of War approved the establishment of the Germ Lab of the Army Medical School, which later became the Epidemic Prevention Lab. On December 8th, the Ministry of War approved a sum of exactly 208,989 yen for the expansion of the lab. The Army Medical School, with Ryuji Kajitsuka as the chief, then had Epidemic Prevention Classroom, and Epidemic Prevention Lab, which contained Shiro Ishii, Eiji Nishimura, Masataka Kitagawa, Ren Watanabe, Enryo Hojo, Hatsutaro Shirakawa, and Ryuji Kajitsuka. These were the key members of Unit 731 in its early days. They later became the principal supporters and executors of germ warfare. Among them, Ryuji Kajitsuka became Chief of Medical Administration of Ministry of War. Eiji Nishimura became Head of Force Number 1855. Masataka Kitagawa was Head of Division of Germ Research of Unit 731. Ren Watanabe was Head of Number 12 Department of Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification. Enryo Hojo worked in the Medical Administration of Ministry of War and was a major help to Shiro Ishii. Hatsutaro Shirakawa later worked as Head of Number 29 Field Operation Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department. The expanded Epidemic Prevention Research Lab was added with a research lab, office, machine room, transformer room, and warehouse, and a feeding room for small animals. This became the launching pad for the research and production of germs, such as cholera, typhoid, and glanders. That the Epidemic Prevention Research Lab expanded within just 1 year is clear evidence that at some point, Shiro Ishii and his biological warfare program had been accepted by the Japanese Army, and that the upper levels of the Japanese government had begun to actively push biological war and incorporate it into their strategy of military invasion. Predecessor: the Covert Kamo Unit. Once Japan took over Harbin, the Japanese forces began to spread over the whole of northeast China. In August 1933, Shiro Ishii secretly moved the Epidemic Prevention Research Lab to Harbin, near the intersection of Wenmiao Street and Zhuanhua Street, Nangang District. He also set up a germ experimentation unit called Kamo Unit in Beiyinhe town of Wuchang City, the predecessor of Unit 731. It had a General Affairs Unit and Research Unit, which was divided into 2 squadrons. Nandong Squadron on Xuanhua Street was responsible for the study of epidemic prevention and water purification, and Traffic Squadron was responsible for germ research in Beiyinhe. Shiro Ishii also designed a Tokyo branch of the Ishii Unit in the Army Medical School, where he was then serving. He subsequently traveled back and forth between Tokyo and Harbin. In the Tokyo branch, Ishii had his trusted follower Ryoichi Naito engage in research and experimentation into germ weapons in parallel with Ishii's work in Harbin. By 1933, Ishii had already begun human experimentation. On November 16, 1933, Saburo Endo, the then staff officer of the headquarters of Kwantung Army, paid a tour of inspection in Beiyinhe and wrote in his diary that he, together with Colonel Adachi and Lieutenant Colonel Tachibana, had inspected the traffic squadron as to the progress of experiments. Group 2 was conducting experiments on poisonous gas and liquid, and Group 1 was conducting experiments on electricity. The 2 groups experimented on 2 bandits each. One victim of the 5-minute phosgene test contracted pneumonia and had been at death's door since the day before. His condition had deteriorated, although he still showed signs of life. Another was injected with 15 milliliters of potassium cyanate and lost consciousness after about 20 minutes. The first then survived several 20,000-volt electric shocks and was subsequently killed by injection. The second survived several 5,000-volt shocks, but was burned to death after being subjected to a prolonged shock lasting several minutes. On September 23, 1934, Chinese Mid-Autumn Festival, and 1 year after the Beiyinhe experimental unit had been put in place, a prison break was organized by the Northeast Anti-Japanese United Army in Beijing. This resulted in the truth about the experimental unit being exposed. To secure the confidentiality of the Kamo unit and expand its scale, Shiroishi proposed to move the unit to the Imperial Japanese Army General Staff Office in 1936. According to materials on the trial of former servicemen of the Japanese Army charged with manufacturing and employing bacteriological weapons, Ryuji Kajitsuka testified during the Khabarovsk war crime trials that Unit 731 was set up under the orders of Emperor Hirohito in 1936, and that the location was determined by the headquarters of the Kwantung Army. He also testified that before 1941, the unit did not even have an official name, but was known as the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department of Kwantung Army, or Ishii Unit. Kiyoshi Kawashima confessed during the Khabarovsk trials that Unit 731 was established under secret orders of Japanese Emperor Hirohito in 1936, and the location was first designated in Harbin. The Japanese Minister of War nominated Surgeon Lieutenant Colonel Shiro Ishii as the head of Unit 731. When Kiyoshi was the head of the General Affairs Division of Unit 731, he himself saw this order in the files. This provides clear evidence that the official founding and gradual expansion of Unit 731 were approved by Emperor Hirohito. There were two bacteriological units in northeast China. One was the Epidemic Prevention Department of the Kwantung Army in Pingfang of Harbin, namely the Ishii Unit. The other one was the Animal Epidemic Prevention Department of the Kwantung Army in Mengjiatun, Changchun, also called the Wakamatsu Unit, and later Unit 100 of the Kwantung Army. In the spring of 1936, Kamo Unit began to choose a site in Pingfang and survey the land. On July 7, 1937, Japan initiated the Lugu Bridge Incident, also known as the Marco Polo Bridge Incident, opening the comprehensive war of aggression against China. At the same time, the base of Kamo Unit's bacteriological war was steadily growing in scale. On June 30, 1938, the headquarters of Kwantung Army issued No. 1539 directive on setting up a special military region around Pingfang. This military region was secret. It was called No. 17 Military Base. It was ruled that, firstly, the buildings of Ishii Unit in Pingfang, within the walls, were all to be identified as special military buildings. Secondly, according to the implementation rules of Manchu Military Plan Protection Law, Section A marked on the main maps of the appendices should be identified as a special military area, while all the above rules should apply to this section. Thirdly, buildings over 2 stories were not to be constructed within Section B. Fourthly, special air routes and no-flight zones should be determined for Civil Airlines of Manchuria Aviation Company. Fifthly, the boundaries of Section A and Section B, as well as the prohibitory rules imposed on the 2 sections, should be announced by the Manchukuo Ministry of Public Security, and the locations of those military buildings should be declared by the defense commander. Sixthly, only the units directly involved should be notified of this order, which was not to be published in any way. Later, the Harbin Puppet Government Office set up Pingfang Special Region Office, Pingfang Special Region Japan and Manchu Association, and Pingfang Police Office, which was equipped with Pingfangtun Police Office, Plain Yellow Banner Santun Police Office, Shinfatun Police Office, all managed directly by the Japanese. The Japanese Military Police Corps in Harbin dispatched a detachment to Pingfang, thus reinforcing the research base's secrecy. The Pingfang Special Military Region was composed of Pingfang County, Japanese Air Force Unit 8372, Unit 731 encampment, and surrounding regions, occupying an area of about 120 square kilometers. It was divided into Section A and Section B. Section A was a specially controlled area centered on Unit 731 and Unit 8372. It covered a total area of 32 square kilometers. Section A contained 25 villages, and Huangjiawopu, Liujiawopu, Plain Yellow Banner Wutun, and Plain Yellow Banner Tutun, 4 of which were mandatorily relocated and demolished by Unit 731. Section B was a generally controlled area, including 19 villages. To tighten control of the special military region, border signs were erected along traffic intersections about 1.5 kilometers away from villages on the edge of the region, and no one could enter the region without approval. Residents aged over 14 in the special region needed to carry a certificate of residence issued by the Shangfang Police Station of Harbin Puppet Police Office, which could be checked by the police at any time. Outsiders also needed to apply for a temporary certificate of residence in the police office and cancellation of the certificate before leaving. An example of a certificate of residence issued by Xiangfang Police Station of Harbin Police Office can be seen in the Museum of Evidence of War Crimes by Japanese Army Unit 731 in Harbin. It shows that the holder of the certificate was a woman who went by Gao Guo, a combination of the family names of her and her husband, and lived on Yifa Yuan 34, Xiangfang District of Harbin. The notes contain 8 rules. 1. Anyone over 14 years old and living in the special region should apply for this certificate. 2. The certificate should be carried when traveling. 3. The certificate should not be lent or transferred to others. 4. Those who want to migrate within the special region must apply to the local police office. Within the first 20 days after migration, they should apply for a change of residence to the destination's police office. 5. Those who want to migrate out of the special region should apply to the destination's police office. They should return this certificate to the nearest police office as soon as they move out of the region. 6. If the certificate is lost or damaged, the holder should apply for a replacement to the relevant police office within 10 days. If lost while traveling, the holder needs to apply for a certificate to the nearest police office and apply for a replacement certificate of residence with the above temporary certificate after returning home. If the lost certificate is found again, the holder need to immediately report to the nearest police office. 7. When the certificate expires or the contents change, the holder should apply for a change of information to the responsible police office within 1 month. 8. Those who breach the above rules shall be detained or fined. In 1938, Unit 731 began a comprehensive and rapid program of construction in Pingfang Military Special Region, and then moved in. By August 1939, Unit 731 had completed various facilities including the headquarters, the bacteriological experiment building, a special prison, and a number of experimental facilities as well as heating, electricity, and water supply facilities, 2 special rail stations of Pingfang and Sunjia, and special airports. In addition, barracks, dormitories, warehouses, Dongjiang Shrine, Dongjiang School, Dongjiang Square, hospital, auditorium, bar, and playground were already prepared. The core region of Unit 731 was 6.1 square kilometer, surrounded by 5-kilometer long, 2.5 meter high, and 1 meter thick walls. A high-voltage fence was placed on the walls, and a 3-meter wide and 3-meter deep protective ditch was dug on the outside. Barbaric Expansion, the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department. On August 1, 1940, Ishii Unit started using the name Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department. It had a bulky organization with a large number of members. The unit had Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, Division 4, Division of General Affairs, Division of Training of Personnel, Division of Equipment, and Division of Medical Treatment. Besides these 8 divisions, the unit had a special group to manage prisons. In general, sections were set up under divisions and groups under sections. Each group was named after the person in charge. Division 1, as the core division in Unit 731 in bacteriological research, handled research on germs, including aggressive biological agents and defensive serums and related protective equipment. Division 2, the Division of Biological Experimentation, studied the effects of biological weapons and the methods of attack by testing on humans, animals, and plants. Division 3 was actually the Division of Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification and was responsible for preventing any epidemics in Unit 731 and protecting its water supply. It studied and produced bombs containing biological agents and built manufacturing plants for water purifiers and bacteriological bombshells. Division 4, known as the Division of Germ Production, engaged in the cultivation and production of germs, research and production of vaccines, and production of biological weapons. The Division of General Affairs formulated plans for biological warfare, drafted and conveyed unit orders, and managed human resources, logistics, finance, and labor administration. The Division of Training of Personnel was responsible for training staff chosen for bacteriological research, production, and application, and educating them about bacteriology and epidemic prevention. The Division of Equipment supplied the production equipment, maintained experimental apparatus, vaccines, and bacteria, and managed the transport of animals for testing. The Division of Medical Treatment was responsible for disease prevention and the medical treatment of members of Unit 731 and their families. On December 2, 1940, Yoshijiro Umezu, the Commander-in-Chief of Kwantung Army, signed No. 398 Combat Order of Kwantung Army, which ordered the head of the Department of Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification to deploy the following forces: Mudanjiang Branch in Hailin, Lingkou Branch in Lingkou, Sunwu Branch in Sunwu, and Hailar in Hailar. In compliance with this order, Unit 731 set up the above 4 branches. Considering that in 1938, Unit 731 had assigned the Dalian Office of Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department to take over Dalian Institute of Health and establish the Tachibana Special Experiment Field and the Chengzigu Outdoor Experiment Field. The bacteriological research base was large in scale and had a substantial staff, well-developed facilities, and an extensive range of equipment. The archives record that by January 1, 1945, Unit 731 consisted of high-ranking officials, non-commissioned officers, soldiers, and military families. At that time, the staff comprised 1 lieutenant general, 2 major generals, 5 colonels, 5 lieutenant colonels, 34 majors, 31 captains, 26 lieutenants, 27 second lieutenants, 18 warrant officers, 165 non-commissioned officers, 1,018 soldiers, and 2,208 family members, in total 3,540 people. Additionally, Hailar Branch had 165 people, Mudanjiang Branch 200, Sunwu Branch 136, Lingkou Branch 224, and Dalian Office 250. All told, the full complement of Unit 731, including the headquarters and the branches, numbered 4,515. In 1941, Ishi Unit and other branches were collectively called Manchu Unit 659, and the headquarters in Pingfang were called Manchu Unit 731, while the Mudanjiang branch was named Manchu Unit 643, Sunwu branch Manchu Unit 673, Lingkou branch Manchu Unit 162, Hailar branch Manchu Unit 543, and Dalian Institute of Health Manchu Unit 319. Unit 731's code name was Department of Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification of Kwantung Army, although in fact, that department, in charge of the research and production of purifiers and defenses against bacteriological warfare, as well as ceramic-shelled bacteriological bombs for offensive purposes, was only one of the unit's 8 divisions. Unit 731 was thereby able to engage in its research into germ warfare and human experimentation under the guise of epidemic prevention and water purification. Other units followed suit. According to the archives of Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare, from 1938 to 1945, a series of biological warfare institutions were established under the guidance or direct participation of Unit 731, including North China Department of Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification in Beijing, Central China Department of Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification in Nanjing, South China, Department of Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification in Guangzhou, and 2 departments in Singapore. The invading Japanese army set up 36 divisions of epidemic prevention and water purification, 12 such departments for field operation, and 7 independent departments of epidemic prevention and water purification. In addition, there were the Brigade 89 Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department and a temporary department in Taiwan. Prior to its surrender, Japan had established a total of 63 epidemic prevention and water purification units, covering the majority of China and other regions of Southeast Asia and East Asia, such as Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand. Unit 731 was created for the purposes of initiating invasive war and bacteriological warfare. Its establishment and expansion were widely underpinned and assisted by the Japanese government. The highest levels of the Army, the Kwantung Army, and medical circles, all of which is readily apparent from its secrecy and its rapid growth. From the perspective of the time, locations, scale, and coverage of Unit 731 and other epidemic prevention and water purification departments, bacteriological war gradually became a significant instrument for the Japanese military invasion of China and other Asian countries, and an integral part of the entire system of aggression. This provides incontestable evidence of the fact that Japan's biological war machine was a premeditated and organized international crime that reached to the very top of Japanese society. Demise. Flight after destruction of the evidence. On August 9, 1945, Unit 731 was informed that the Red Army of the Soviet Union was dispatching troops to northeast China to fight the Kwantung Army. Immediately, Shiro Ishii summoned higher officials for an emergency conference, and his headquarters and its branches braced for a withdrawal. Ishii delivered orders to keep the secrets of Unit 731 and through documents, research materials, experiment reports, medical equipment, and human samples into the furnace in the boiler room. Jin Guozhong, a laborer from Unit 731, recalled that on the evening of August 9, 1945, it was raining, and planes were buzzing through the sky. A haystack in the southwest corner of Unit 731 was set on fire by the Japanese. At 2 o'clock in the morning, a train was driven in along the special track, and the families of Unit 731 staff flocked onto the train with all their possessions. After the train left, many Japanese women who had failed to get on board were left weeping on the platform. At 3 a.m., the Japanese began to bomb the main building of their own complex, and the northwest corner collapsed. Explosions could be heard all day on August 10th. Toshimi Mizobuchi was a health corporal of Unit 731 and confessed in 2004 that at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on August 9th, Colonel Kiyoshi Ota, the head of General Affairs and Chief Commander of War Operation, gave orders to halt all the activities of Unit 731 and to destroy all evidence of its existence. The families of the staff were evacuated according to their order of importance. Buildings 7 and 8 were also dealt with. In addition, many soldiers stacked the microscopes and burnt them. Together with the remaining families of the military, they burned documents, books, and X-rays. Martial law was imposed on the entire site of Unit 731, and all officials and soldiers were assigned to the destruction of evidence. Shiro Ishii instructed his brother Tadao Toko Ishii to deal with the special prison by killing the prisoners with poisonous gas, shooting anyone who survived, and burning all the corpses. This extermination program lasted till August 12th. On August 13th and 14th, Brigade 131 demolished the main structures and facilities of Unit 731, including the special prison, the main building, the frostbite lab, the bacteria lab, and the tubercle bacillus lab. On August 14th, the last group of people left in Unit 731 fled Pinglang. All the other branches carried out similar programs. On August 15, 1945, Japan declared its surrender. From August 26th to September 5th, 1945 members of Unit 731 escaped to Japan from Senzaki and Hagi through Busan. A small number were captured by the Red Army of the Soviet Union and taken to the Soviet Union. This represented the final collapse of Unit 731. Ishii issued 3 gagging orders before the flight. One was to prevent the identification of the unit members, the second was to avoid any future contact with each other, and the third was to avoid engaging in any professional activity related to the work of Unit 731. The 3 orders were to have lifelong effect. In order to save their own skins and cover up the war crimes they had committed in China, some members obeyed the 3 orders for the rest of their lives, but others disregarded the orders and went to work in occupations related to the business of Unit 731. These included Commander Masaji Kitano, Education Chief Toshihide Nishi, Chief of Division 3 Toyoichi Iguchi, and TB Group Chief Hideo Futatsugi, who all opened private clinics, and Frostbite Group Chief Hisato Yoshimura, Case Study Group Chief Kozo Okamoto, and Insect Experiment Group Chief Hideo Tanaka, who worked in medical colleges. Many of the members kept in regular contact after the war, and even set up veterans associations, such as the Pingfang Comrade in Arms Association, Dongxiang Comrade in Arms Association, Pingfang Triangle Association, Kamo Association, Gucheng Town Association, and Suzerain Association, through which they openly held commemorative events among different circles of Japanese society. But the majority of Unit 731 members kept their secrets till death, refused interviews by the media, and rejected any public self-examination. There were exceptions, such as Yoshio Shinozuka, Sadao Koshi, Fukumatsu Okawa, and Masakuni Kurumisawa, who spoke of the facts and revealed the truth about those years. Chapter 2. Special Transfer. Special transfer was a proper noun for internal use by Unit 731, Kwantung Military Police, the Police Office, Security Bureau, and intelligence agencies. As to its meaning, Takeo Tachibana, former head of Jiamusi Military Police, confessed that when he was in charge, they often selected prisoners held on suspicion to be transferred to Unit 731 for experiments after a preliminary hearing, in line with the order of the headquarters of the military police, bypassing proper trials and the process of having their cases submitted to the court. Since this was a special measure, it was called special transfer. The Japanese army referred to the targets of special transfer as luggage, or maruta, meaning logs, who underwent capture, interrogation, transfer, imprisonment, and subsequent experimentation and maltreatment up to death in Unit 731 by means of human experimentation, vivisection, and bacteriological infection. Discovery and publicity of the archives of special transfer. In October 1997, Mr. Jin Chengmin was the first person to discover the original documents of special transfer in the Heilongjiang archives. On August 2, 1999, Heilongjiang provincial government convened a press conference to publicize the archives, including 66 items and covering 52 victims of the special transfer. In September 2001, Jilin Archives held a press conference and made 80 archive items public, involving 277 victims. The archives preserved by Heilongjiang and Jilin were the original copies recorded by the Kwantung Military Police, branches and detachments, all written in Japanese, thus persuasive proof of their complicity with Unit 731, the shared crimes, preparation and exercise of human experimentation. Few survived the special transfer. The majority of them were killed during human experimentation, and a few were slaughtered right before Unit 731's escape from China. According to the archives published in 2014 by Jilin Archives, Jiang Rongquan, who was arrested by Sunwu Military Police on November 18, 1943, successfully escaped and became the only survivor following the onset of special transfer. In 2014, I was the person in charge of the research group for the search for and organizing and research of documents and relics about bacteriological war preserved by Chinese and Japanese peoples, a project under the National Social Science Foundation. We found 5 original files of special transfer in Harbin. The archives, written in Japanese in 1942, discussed cases handled by the Harbin Police Department and noted how 10 people were transferred to Unit 731. According to the archives, on July 24, 1942, Harbin Xiangfang Police Department delivered a document to the Harbin Daowai Police Department about the transfer of Wang Jianmin and 3 others. On August 8, 1942, the Harbin Police Bureau delivered a document to the Daowai Police Department about the transfer of a Soviet citizen. On August 17, 1942, Mohe Border Police sent a document to Harbin Zhengyang Police Department about the transfer of Zhang Yuquan and Zheng Boran. Rules about special transfer. Torao Yoshifusa, an adjutant of Kwantung Military Police Command, confessed in the Fushun War Criminals Management Center that after the September 18th incident, the Japanese imperialists experienced more vigorous resistance on the part of the Chinese because of their relentless slaughter of Chinese soldiers and civilians, and ultimately had to change course by feigning an end to severe punishments, while other methods to the same end were devised in secret by Commander-in-Chief of the Kwantung Army, Kenkichi Ueda, Chief of Staff Hideki Tojo, Military Surgeon Shiro Ishii, Chief of Staff Michitaki Yamaoka, Commander of Kwantung Military Police Shizuichi Tanaka, and Chief of Police Administrative Division Eijiro Kaji, and his officer Katsumi Matsura. This involved sending captured anti-Japanese patriots to Ishii Unit for human experimentation. The Kwantung Military Police Force and its subordinates were the major executors of the measure. On March 12, 1943, the Police Administrative Division of Kwantung Military Police Headquarters issued the ultimatum on special transfer, setting clear rules about the standards of special transfer. This document states that the matter will be dealt with, according to Document 58, issued by Kwantung Military Police on January 26th of the 13th year of Showa period, and the following standards. It can be assumed that as far back as January 26, 1938, there were already explicit rules about the standards of special transfer. The Kwantung Military Police set clear rules about the objects of special transfer and made it clear in this ultimatum. They included those prisoners who can be expected to be released immediately or sentenced to a short period of confinement by the court in line with the gravity of their crimes, those, though with light crimes, that should not be released, the homeless, with no fixed housing or relatives, and opium addicts. With these rules, we get the idea that the standards of special transfer were too general, without stringent control of the military police's behavior, leading to the non-differentiation of special transfer. At some point, whether a prisoner was deemed to fit the conditions for special transfer was entirely at the discretion of the military police. The Japanese army transferred different numbers of people each time, sometimes 1 or 2 prisoners, while at other times 6 or 7, with a record high of 90 at one time. On August 8, 1939, Kwantung Military Police Headquarters issued a number 224 operation order to transfer 90 captives from the 8th Route Army, 30 to Unit 731, and 60 others to Sunwoo Branch. The former Police Administrative Division Chief Yoshio Saito of Kwantung Military Police Headquarters confessed in writing.
On August 8, 1938, the number 224 order was issued, declaring that the Army would transfer 90 Chinese to the Ishi unit in Harbin and Sunwoo. This order was given in accordance with the operational order of the Kwantung Army. I, as the police division chief, ordered the 3rd Section to draft the contents and convey it in the name of the commander. The order commanded the police to take control over 90 Chinese people who had been sent from Hebei by Hebei escort troops in Shanhaiguan and send them to Sunwoo. We retained 30 of them and left them with the Ishi unit in Harbin, and the rest were sent to Ishi unit in Sunwoo. I knew that the people left in Harbin were for live body bacteria chemistry tests conducted by Ishi unit, and I thereby contributed to the Ishi unit's slaughter of these Chinese in bacteriological tests.
From Yoshio Saito's account, it seems that the scope of special transfer was not limited to that of the Kwantung Army, but that the Hebei military police were also part of the process. My investigations showed that the Chengde military police participated in several rounds of special transfer, escorting Zhang Kun, Li Shuman, and Guo Linsi, and at least 14 others to Unit 731. Unit 731 set up a military police office to receive those transferred. In the book Hinomaru Incarnadine by Blood and Tears, Sadao Koshi, a former driver employed at Unit 731, wrote about the 4 places at the other end of special transfer, namely the military police office by Harbin Railway Station, the Harbin Intelligence Agency, the headquarters of Harbin Military Police, and the Japanese consulate in Harbin. It is hard to believe that the Japanese consulate in Harbin, as the highest Japanese agency of foreign affairs stationed in Harbin, was actually a secret contact point and transfer station for Unit 731, especially the human experimentation with its underground prison locking up the Maruta. This, from another angle, proves that bacteriological war by Unit 731 was an important tool of Japanese military invasion, and that the Kwantung Army, as the major planner and executor of special transfer, as well as Japanese military, police, intelligence agencies, and other Japanese agencies stationed in China, were all actively involved in the matter, making this a well-planned and organized crime carried out in secret. Objects of special transfer. As to the identities of the targets of special transfer, Takeo Tachibana, former head of Jamusi Military Police, confessed that the first group were alleged spies or those suspected of conspiring with foreign intelligence agencies. The second were referred to as bandits, namely Chinese guerrillas. The third were anti-Japanese people and irredeemable recidivists. The Japanese would send those people to Unit 731 through special transfer. Based on the available archives, the objects of special transfer mainly fell into the following categories: intelligence personnel accused of being Soviet spies, common people, including farmers, laborers, choremen, and small businessmen, captured members of the Kuomintang and the anti-Japanese forces from the Communist Party of China, Soviet Red Army soldiers captured by Japanese or seized during the Nomonhan incident, also known as the Battles of Khalkhin Gol, other anti-Japanese people or civilians from Korea and other nations. Anti-Japanese intelligence officers. According to rules of special transfer by the Kwantung Military Police, the anti-Japanese intelligence personnel who collected intelligence about puppet Manchukuo and the Japanese Army were primary targets of special transfer. The so-called stronghold regions referred to the 17 military fortifications built in secret by the Kwantung Army along the Chinese-Soviet Union border and Chinese-Mongolian border from Hunchun of Jilin in the east to Hailar and Arksan in the west during the period between 1933 and 1945. The area contained about 80,000 permanent fortifications and thousands of permanent underground warehouses, power stations, telecommunications hubs, water purification stations, and other military facilities. Based on the time, venue, occupation, and other information about the victims, 80% of the special transfer targets accused of being Soviet spies came from the fortification regions of the Kwantung Army in Hutu, Sunwu, and Hunchun. This was not a coincidence, because with the arrangement of the Kwantung Army, the counterintelligence forces in the stronghold regions cooperated closely with Unit 731. From 1939 to 1944, the Kwantung Army built large-scale military fortifications along the China-Soviet Union and China-Mongolia borders, commanding the attention of Chinese and Soviet intelligence agencies. Therefore, China and the Soviet Union employed many personnel to collect intelligence about the Japanese fortifications along national borders and conduct intelligence activities in the interests of underground anti-Japanese organizations and the Soviet Union. As a result, the Kwantung Army pursued these intelligence personnel in the fortification regions while maintaining confidentiality and closely monitoring the situation. In terms of agents arrested by the Japanese Army, according to the standards on special transfer laid out by the Kwantung Military Police, this included
those who enter Manchukuo as spies or saboteurs or continue their activities until their capture. It might be impossible for us to absorb or dispatch those who harbor a pro-Soviet or anti-Japanese mentality.
These Soviet spies included Chinese, Soviets, and Koreans, the majority of whom were arrested because of scouting information about the Kwantung Army. They were truly revolutionary martyrs, dying for the anti-Japanese cause. Common citizens. When implementing the rules of special transfer, the various levels of Japanese military, police, and intelligence agencies had considerable discretion. Since capturing anti-Japanese personnel, or innocent citizens, and then transferring them to Unit 731 would earn the Japanese awards, promotion, and bonuses, the Army was more zealous in carrying out such actions. According to Wasaburo Okado, the second lieutenant of Mudanjiang Military Police, Bamiantong Military Police arrested one Chinese patriot who worked in secret as a wireless technician. To reward this success, Mochizuki ordered 100 yen to be taken from the Secret Service expenses Okado was managing and given to Lieutenant Heizi Osuga of Bamiantong Military Police, who then stepped up interrogation of the captive and seized a wireless set. To transfer the captive to the Ishii unit, Okado dispatched one corporal to exercise the transfer. The captive would be killed by the Ishii unit. The Japanese Army also carried out random capture of ordinary citizens, on the pretext that they were anti-Manchukuo, or anti-Japanese, including farmers, laborers, choremen, and small vendors. They were exposed to fierce interrogation and torture, such as beatings, electric shocks, and soaking in freezing water. They also invented grounds for special transfer and forced the captives to provide the necessary oral or written evidence. This became a secret tool for the military police, police officers, and agents to gain their ends. Tetsuichi Kamitsubo, former captain of Jinning Military Police, confessed that he captured over 100 anti-Japanese operatives and citizens and interrogated them with torture, such as soaking them in freezing water, electric shocks, beatings in sacks, beatings with clubs, and burning with red-hot pokers. He also sent 22 of them, including Li Dongdai, Sang Yuan King, and Zhang Yuhuan, to Unit 731 in Harbin for bacteriological experimentation and research. Junsaku Sekiyama, former director of the Secret Services of the Aihui County Border Police, confessed that in accordance with Captain Kazama's order, in response to the impact on public security of the growing number of jobless people, 74 Chinese people were captured from various districts, 62 of whom were sent to the Hegang coal mine for forced labor, 5 of whom were released, and 7 of whom were sent to Unit 731 on the pretext that they were anti-Japanese combatants, where they died. Based on my statistics, the special transfer targets include 44 farmers, 33 laborers, choremen, and vendors. Some of the victims had their photos taken during interrogation, which were preserved in the Special Transfer Archives. With the help of the detailed information in the archives, we found some of the relatives of the victims, although there were no records of the majority of victims. Kuomintang, Communist Party, and the Northeast Anti-Japanese United Army. Among the special transfer targets, large numbers were anti-Japanese activists from the Kuomintang, the Communist Party, and the Northeast Anti-Japanese United Army. They were clearly documented. On July 11, 1941, Liu Shiji, Chief Inspector of Mishan Police of Dong'an Province, was sent by special transfer at the age of 38. On July 18, 1941, Xu Chunfu, Secretary of the Political Department of the 5th Army of the Northeast Anti-Japanese United Army, was captured around the Dongshan coal mine on Xingshan Street, Heli County, and then sent by special transfer at the age of 26. On August 1, 1941, Tian Lishun, Inspector of Hulan Border Police of Dong'an Province, was captured and sent by special transfer at the age of 40. On July 3, 1943, Zhang Guizhou, also named Zhang Decheng, leader of Platoon 9, Battalion 3, Regiment 15 of the Shandong Kuomintang Constabulary, was captured by Jiandao Military Police and sent by special transfer at the age of 22. On that same day, Jiandao Military Police also captured Zhao Qingzhang, also named Zhao Huanwen, member of Kuomintang Constabulary, at the age of 26. Wang Rangji from Regiment 7, Brigade 7 of Kuomintang Constabulary, was also captured by the Japanese military and sent by special transfer. History into reality: the Heishijiao incident in Dalian. In 1941, Wang Yaoshuan set up the Xingya Photo Studio and Fuxing Stationery Shop in Dalian. These were in fact bases of the Communist International Far East Intelligence Station, with Shen Delong in command of Li Zhongshan and Wu Baozhen, who were all engaged in secret anti-Japanese work. Wang Xiaoxuan was born in 1898 in Zhanglukou Village, Raoyang County of Hebei Province. He had another name, Wang Zhongshan. He became a Communist Party member in 1939 and acted as a liaison for Central Hebei military area of the Communist Party of China and as a Soviet agent. He lived at 24 Xinglong Street, Qianmenwai, Beijing. In the autumn of 1943, Manchu Unit 86 traced a secret radio transmission. One of the messages sent to Chita of the Soviet Union and Yan'an of China around midnight every Tuesday and Friday. It was traced back to Xingye Photo Studio located at 153 Gao Shading, Heishijiao, Dalian. On the early morning of October 1, 1943, Dalian military police sent a force of 80 people to investigate the Xingye Photo Studio, arresting Shen Delong, Liu Guiqin, Li Wenhua, and Li Yaqin. The military police searched the studio thoroughly and found a wireless set, antennae, and a code book. According to the investigation record of the Japanese Army, Shen Delong, also named Li Qingchun, was an ethnic Korean born in 1911. He was originally from Raohe County, Dong'an Province of Puppet Manchukuo. He joined the Northeast Anti-Japanese United Army in 1934 and then pursued his studies at the Communist University of the Toilers of the East in Moscow, the Soviet Union. He was proficient in Chinese, Russian, and Korean. He also became a member of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. In December 1939, he was dispatched by the Red Army of the Soviet Union to conduct anti-Japanese activities as a wireless technician and agent. After interrogation by the Dalian military police, Shen Delong revealed information about the Communist International Far East Intelligence Station, including its organization and structure, its activities, and its broadcasting code of contact and password. As soon as Xingye Photo Studio was shut down by Dalian military police, Li Zhongshan and Wu Baozhen of Fuxing Stationery Shop were informed of the news. They immediately left Dalian for Shenyang Intelligence Station to deliver the information. Unfortunately, Dalian military police quickly extracted information from Shen Delong. They were able to widen their search and make further arrests. On October 6, 1943, they arrested Li Zhongshan, Han Ziguang, and Shi Jichen. Li Zhongshan, also named Liu Zhenpeng and Li Jiben, a member of the Soviet Communist Party, was originally from Liuzhaoxi village, Wuqiang County of Hebei Province. He was a wireless intelligence worker dispatched by the Red Army of the Soviet Union. They arrested Yang Shuili and Guo Xinqin in Shenyang on October 8th, and Wang Yaochuan and Wang Dongcheng in Tianjin on October 11th. Wang Dongsheng, also named Wang Shuinian, was originally from Zhanglukou village, Raoyang County of Hebei Province, and lived at 2 Hongshunli, Yangqiao Street, Xiaohua Avenue, Hebei District of Tianjin. He was Wang Yaoshuan's nephew and worked in the Yuyuan factory. When they were taken back to Dalian military police, Yutaka Mitsuo and Setsuzi Naganuma subjected them to sessions of brutal interrogation and torture, using racks, hot irons, chili pepper water, and electric chairs. Finally, the Dalian military police sent Shen Delong, Wang Yaochuan, Wang Dongsheng, and Li Zhongshan by special transfer to Unit 731 as members of foreign intelligence agencies, with the approval of the headquarters of Kwantung Army. There is no trace of what happened to the others. In 1993, Wang Yibing, son of Wang Yaoshuan, began to collate all the materials relating to the facts surrounding his father's death. He compiled his evidence, and in 1994, he commissioned the Japanese lawyers Hiroshi Oyama, Toshitaka Onodera, Harumi Watanabe, and Shogo Watanabe to file a lawsuit against the Japanese government. While Wang Yibing was preparing the trial materials, Harumi Watanabe traced Yutaka Mitsuo in Japan and communicated a proposal from Mitsuo to Wang. First, to confess his wrongdoing to the victims' families. Second, to fully recognize the testimony about how Wang Yaoshuan died. Third, to stand in court as a witness. Wang Yibing has given an account of his discussions with Harumi Watanabe surrounding the events of the past. Watanabe told him that it was Yutaka Mitsuo who had arrested and interrogated his father and cousin and transferred them to Unit 731. Wang says that he felt such shock as the hatred harbored in his heart for years suddenly materialized that he could hardly bear to listen. But neither did he want to miss any detail of how Watanabe had traced Mitsuo. Watanabe explained that Mitsuo had returned to Japan in 1956 from the Fushun War Criminals Management Center in China after being given special amnesty, and that he had decided to take action against the resurgence of Japanese militarism out of remorse about the suffering he had inflicted upon the Chinese. To improve the relationship between the two countries and contribute to world peace, Mitsuo voluntarily established an association of returnees from China with other pardoned Japanese militants and served as a member of the Standing Committee. In Japan, his activities in furthering friendship between China and Japan led him to be targeted by right-wing forces. He could not find a job, and his life was very difficult, but he continued to expose Japan's militarist crimes against China. Wang Yibing and his elder cousin and second younger sister listened carefully without interrupting. Harumi Watanabe went on to say that on January 5, 1994, Yutaka Mitsuo and Setsuzi Naganuma had paid a visit to the Dalian government during their stay in China to apologize for arresting and transferring Wang Yaoxuan to the Ishi unit during their service with the Dalian military police about half a century ago. Watanabe suddenly stopped there. Wang Yibing said he tried very hard to control his tears in front of a Japanese. In 1995, at the time of the 50th anniversary of victory in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression, a seminar on fighting against invasion and safeguarding peace was held in Harbin. Both Wang Yibing and Yutaka Mitsuo attended this meeting. On July 31st, Yutaka Mitsuo apologized to Wang Yibing, accompanied by Jin Yuan, head of the former Fushun War Criminals Management Center. The following is Wang's version of his meeting with Mitsuo.
At exactly 7:30 in the small conference room in the Civil Aviation Hotel in Harbin, I and my son Wang Xiaoguang met Shan Wenjun and Liu Ying from the Historical Records Office of Dalian. The latter two guests were the ones who had provided me with the original materials about the Japanese military police in Dalian when I had been investigating and collecting evidence. They helped me a lot in the process. When everyone was seated, Jin Yuan entered. He commanded everyone's attention, because following him was a man, all skin and bone, unsteady on his feet. He was hunched, with two hollow eye sockets and a flat face, setting off his high cheekbones and forehead. He had white hair all over his head, with several hairs hanging down over his forehead. He entered the room cautiously and tentatively, and stood in front of everyone. He looked like he was over 80 years old. This was Yutaka Mitsuo. At that moment, Jin Yuan moved a few steps forward and chose a spot between me and Mitsuo that did not interfere with the discourse between the perpetrator and the victim. He also considered the positions of Shan Wenjun and Liu Ying. Then he talked to Mitsuo in fluent Japanese. This is Mr. Wang Yibing, a descendant of Mr. Wang Yaoxuan. Then he pointed at the skinny old man and shifted to Chinese. This is Yutaka Mitsuo, a former member of Dalian military police and a war criminal, as well as the aggressor of Wang Yaoxuan and Wang Dongsheng. During the introduction, Mitsuo remained in a deep bow, not moving an inch. Noting that Jin Yuan had finished the introduction, he stepped forward quickly and slightly, and bowed repeatedly, uttering the words, "I am a sinner, I am a sinner." Then Jin Yuan repeated his remarks in Chinese. This was how Jin Yuan repeated and translated our communications in both Japanese and Chinese. Respected Mr. Wang Yibing, the families of Mr. Wang Yaoxuan, I have sinned. I accompanied the Japanese militants to China and participated in their brutal invasion. Shan Wenjun and Liu Ying took out a camera and took photos, leaving us with 2 precious photos, which are also the only 2 left. I listened to Miss Duo's apologies and felt infuriated. If I had not been a CPC member with years of education in being understanding, reasonable, and open-minded, I would have stood up and beaten him, regardless of the circumstances. But my senses overrode my emotions, and I preserved my calm. He said the following:
I was the one who arrested your father and cousin in Tianjin when I was in the Dalian military police. I am at fault for the afflictions imposed on your families. I am a sinner. I hereby apologize to you and all your family members. The Chinese government has adopted a merciful and lenient policy toward Japanese war criminals, that is, to hate the crimes rather than the criminals. This changed me a great deal and saved me by giving me a second chance. As a result, I can stand here today to apologize to you face to face. Not only did I torture your father during interrogation, but I also sent him by special transfer to Unit 731, where he lost his life. What I have done is unforgivable. My crimes are as severe as those of Shiro, the devil of Japanese biological war. I want to apologize to you and to all Chinese victims again. I will carry this thought forward throughout my lifetime and fight for Sino-Japan friendship. I am willing to testify to the Japanese crimes in their invasion of China back in my homeland and speak in court for Mr. Wang. Again, I will forever ask for forgiveness from all Chinese victims, especially you 2.
When Mitsuo finished, he bowed deeply and repeatedly. I listened to my enemy confess to me and my family right in front of me, which reminded me of my beloved family members who had taken part in the revolutionary struggle against the Japanese and the Manchukuo regime. I thought of their persecution and sacrifice, and the difficulties their families had suffered. Upon hearing all that he had to say, I calmed down and pulled myself together. I cleared my throat and slowly uttered the words, "It was you who arrested my father and my cousin, and tortured them and sent them to the evil Unit 731 for human experimentation. You have deeply sinned. Between us is irreconcilable feud. Your sin can never be erased. It will be written in the history of the Japanese militarists who invaded China. Then the Japanese militarists surrendered, and you were sent to the former Soviet prison and Fushun War Criminals Management Center. You deserved all that. Over the past decade, you have acknowledged the facts of the invasion and confessed your own crimes. You have adopted an honest attitude, and you have thereby been granted a special amnesty by the Chinese government. That is how you turned from a war criminal who has inflicted harm on the Chinese people into a new man, a man with the rights to be human again. Then you volunteered to come to China to apologize in Dalian, where you committed the worst of your crimes. Today, you have apologized to the victims, displaying how you have changed after years of reform. In China, there is a saying, "Deliver oneself from the endless sea of tribulations by repenting." Since you have confessed and apologized, it is understandable that you are forgiven for the deaths you caused. But you need to honor your words with deeds by doing something good for the friendship between China and Japan. You must mean what you have said. Miss Tuo listened and shed regretful tears. He lowered his head and bowed again and again, murmuring his thanks. The whole process went on for less than an hour, throughout which Jin Yuan, himself more than 80 years old, stood right beside us, showing no sign of fatigue. He looked at me and smiled in satisfaction. I smiled back tacitly. That was unique and complicated between 2 generations of the victims of invasion. The apology from my enemy Yutaka Mitsuo soothed me somewhat. Although my other family members have passed away, unable to witness this and hear the remorseful confession, history has finally forced the devil to lower its head before justice. This is the biggest comfort to the dead souls and tens of thousands of victims and compatriots.
In August 1995, Wang Yibing headed for Japan for his court case. On August 16th, Mitsuo apologized again to Wang Yibing in Tokyo. On that occasion, Wang finally shook the hand of Mitsuo, which was widely reported in Japan. One headline said, "A handshake beyond hatred." Seeing the comment, I was left wondering about the hatred between Wang Yibing and Yutaka Mitsuo. What were they feeling right then? How can a handshake transcend all the harm done to individuals in the history of a nation? On September 22, 1999, the Tokyo District Court published the result of the case of Unit 731. It was held that the conduct of the Japanese Army during the 15 years of occupation of China was inhumane, and that the facts of persecution were well established based on the evidence and debate. The testimony of Yutaka Mitsuo and the plaintiffs who had experienced Japanese persecution was trustworthy. The Japanese government should sincerely apologize to the people of China, since the friendship between the Chinese and Japanese peoples constitutes the basis of the bilateral relationship. To maintain its relationship with China and safeguard peace, the Japanese government should contemplate deeply, now and in the future. Finally, the judge Tsuyoshi Ito said that the harm done to individuals during the war should be resolved by the national governments and that Japan was entitled to jurisdictional immunity. So Wang Yibing's suit was rejected. On July 29, 2004, Wang Yibing filed another lawsuit against the Japanese government, but failed again. In 2005, Wang Yibing appealed to the Japanese Supreme Court, which dismissed the appeal on the basis that China had waived any claims to reparation in the China-Japan Joint Communique of 1972. End of Chapter 2.